Be recorded.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Board of Selectmen is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, please dial 1-408-650-3123 using access code 235-235-861. Or the public can join via computer at www.global.gotomeeting.com/join/235-235-861. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body and are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. All members are in attendance. No need for a roll call. No one's attending remotely. And with that, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have no public comments this evening, nor any public hearings or presentations, and also no communications. Moving to Select Board General Items, number 5A, we have a vote to transmit the proposed zoning bylaw amendments to Section 7, signs, and Section 4.1, floodplain district, to the Planning Board to hold the required public hearings in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, subsection 5. And we have a letter from the town planner enclosed. Mr. Menard, do you want to address this one? Excuse me, Dr. Menard.
Good evening. So Adam, I'm the town planner. So the two zoning articles before you, the first one is the sign bylaw. These changes being proposed by the zoning bylaw review committee. They've been discussing them for the past several months, trying to make some tweaks, trying to make some of the changes proposed towards safety, if the flashing lights near the intersections, facing houses, that kind of thing. There'll be another meeting next Monday where they'll finalize any possible changes and be ready for the planning board public hearing, probably April 11th. The other one, the floodplain bylaw that is coming from FEMA and VCR. All those changes are recommended by them. Bluntly put, they kind of have to make these changes in order to retain our firm insurance. You know, if we don't do this, we're no longer qualified to have flood insurance for the residents. It's basically, we have to make these changes with the new BAPs that are coming out in June.
Any questions from the board members? No? The signs are obviously, with any of those changes, any existing signs fall under legally existing.
Correct. They're grandfathered in.
All right. Any questions from the administration?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? All right, so do we have a vote that would be needed to transmit the proposed zoning bylaw amendments to the planning board?
I'll make a motion that we transmit the zoning article as outlined.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to move up 6B,
D.
6D, sorry.
That's all. All right, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so on to town manager item 6D. We have a vote to approve the agreement between the town of Auburn and the Central Mass Regional Planning Agency for regional housing coordinated services.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is an agreement that is, and I was hoping Adam would hang around for this, I think 5-member communities. This is a grant that was obtained through Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. We are seeking to bring on a housing coordinator that would be a benefit to each town. Our share of that is estimated to be about 4 hours. Year one, 100% of that cost is picked up through the grant. In years 2 and 3, our share would be roughly $16,000. So we would be seeking through an outside warrant article, either at this annual town meeting or the fall town meeting, the town's share for years 2 and 3 that would obligate us for the 3-year agreement. So certainly, there are a lot of changes coming down the pike. As you know, we have a housing production plan that expired in September of 2022. We are looking to renew that. Certainly, this individual would be an asset in the enhancement and modifications of a new production plan. And all the issues that we're currently facing with 40B. Certainly, this individual would be helpful in those areas as well.
Sure. Okay. All right, any questions of the board members?
4 hours a week should be sufficient, or we just select that now and they can move up or down?
So based upon conversations we had with CMRPC, with Adam, and a number of, Darlene from DDS, we believe that 4 hours would be of great benefit to the town of Auburn. That would be individual on the ground here for 4 hours. If there is some work that can be done remotely, we certainly would consider that. But for the most part, that individual would have a presence here every week.
Any further questions?
Yes, so through the chair, it looks like this agreement's only valid for a year. Would there be new agreements every year for the first 3 years?
So, yeah, so this would obligate us for year one. And then I believe there is this is definitely a 3-year grant. So we would have to enter into a similar type agreement every year thereafter for the next 2 years.
Okay,
Which would be good because we want to make sure that it's funded the second years, knowing that the first year is covered.
And I think that's why it's structured this way. So if for whatever reason town meeting did not support a funding article for year 2 and 3, then we would have the option to back out of this agreement in subsequent years.
great, thank you.
All right. All right, and do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the agreement between the town of Auburn and CMRPC for Regional Housing Coordinator Services.
Okay, we have a motion, and a second. Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Mr. Chambers, were you an aye or?
Yes.
Okay, all right, 3-1. Okay. All right, and moving back to, in line here, we're at 5B. We have a vote to allow the responsibility to assign police officers to the polling place on election days to remain that of the police chief and the town clerk. We had some information in our packets here. Just initially, this vote wouldn't violate the new vote act, I can't remember the name of it. I was reading this earlier.
No.
Yes.
The Vote Act.
Votes Act.
No, it would not, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions, concerns of the board members? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to allow the responsibility to assign police officers to the polling place on election day to the town clerk.
And the police chief?
Yeah, and the police chief, sorry.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It is a vote. All right, and 5C, we have a vote to set the time for the May 2nd, 2023 annual town meeting and to set hours for May 16th, 2023 annual town elections. We'll take these separately. First being the vote to set the time for the annual town meeting at 6 PM.
I will make a motion to set the time for the May 2nd, 2023 annual town meeting to 6 PM.
Is there a second? All right, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Use a vote. All right, and the second item under 5C, vote to set the hours for the May 16th, 2023 annual town election to be from 8 AM to 8 PM.
I will make a motion to set the hours for the May 16th, 2023 annual town election to be 8 AM to 8 PM.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Use a vote. Okay. Next in your packets, we have a drain layer license for Morris Excavating Company of Leicester, Massachusetts. Do we have any questions? No. All right, seeing none, do we have a motion? Okay, motion, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It is a vote. Okay, and we have a second drain layer license for RSI Construction LLC of Charlton, Massachusetts. And same thing, this was, all this information was in your packet.
I'll make a motion to approve the license, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all of the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all of the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It is a vote. All right, moving on to item F, we have gift acceptances. So we can have $2,500. I want to say it's from the Whitetail Organization?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, thank you. So Whitetails Unlimited.
Make the motion to accept with the other prepared for the certificate.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. All right, no proclamations and recognitions, so we are moving to 6A. We have a request from the police chief to declare surplus property. We have an Auburn Police Cruiser car, number 15, for disposal purposes. And again, you have a letter in your packet from the chief explaining this matter.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. And next, we have an update on state aid cherry sheet revenue. And with that, I will hand that over to you, Mr. Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I wanted to inform you that the town was notified Thursday of last week, on the 23rd. We got a preliminary notification of the governor's recommendation. That's going to be official tomorrow. And that's something we've been waiting for. So we were hoping to get it earlier than the actual release, which we did, which allowed us then to make a recommendation to you. I wanted to make sure that there was adequate funds there enough to support the level of recommendation that we made, that will be considered by you tonight. The amount of state aid that the town is going to receive, we originally used an estimate of 1.5%. And it was very difficult to estimate that, given a number of things, especially with a new administration. There's no trend or historical data there. But it turned out to be very favorable for the town. So our estimate would have provided an additional $251,000. We're actually getting an additional $1,006,000. That's $754,000 more than what we estimated. That being said, I did not change my recommendation. I'll get into that when we get into the next item. For a number of reasons. Number one, it's late in the ball game, and there are a number of priorities we didn't meet, and it's going to allow us to reconsider potentially some of those. I would strongly recommend for a fall town meeting. So our 1.5% is actually coming in at 6% higher. So I wanted to report that to you and how that impacts the budget that's before you tonight. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that's an update, and I can I can then discuss item 6C, which is our recommendation relative to the budget. So I know your books were prepared and they were ready for review for you on Friday. They were also electronically sent to you as a PDF. And let me just summarize what you have before you tonight. So we have a total FY '24 budget recommendation of $79,407,000, roughly $900,000. I want you to keep in mind that that budget at this time does not include, but provides an estimate for solid waste. Our 3-year contract has expired. We are seeking a renewal of some prices right now. We hope to have something finalized within the next week. But there is an estimate built into that. Whether the estimate is adequate enough, we don't know yet. It also provides an estimate for Bay Path, and now that Bay Path has received their state aid numbers, I placed a call to them today. They did provide me with a preliminary assessment, and what has been budgeted in your book meets that assessment. But they haven't made a presentation to their school committee yet, so I'm reluctant in providing that assessment number until such time they present it to their school committee. In terms of appropriations, the recommendation has an increase for FY '24 over current year FY '23 of $911,000 and change. It's a 1.16% increase. On the revenue side, we have a total increase of $1.917 million over current FY '23. That's a 2.44% overall increase. It uses the state aid, using the governor's estimates, like I said, released last Thursday, the 23rd, of 6%. The level of taxation based upon those numbers, currently, we would be taxing roughly $310,000 out of 1.3 million, out of 2.5, or a utilization rate of just over 0.5%, 0.59, out of the allowable 2.5, which means this budget would reflect an unobligated amount of surplus revenue of $1,006,000. On the expense side, and a lot of what's driven on the expense side has everything to do with the economics that we're dealing with today. Capital costs are up about $160,000 as it was estimated last year, just due to the rising cost of vehicles and of capital. Utility costs, fuel, motor vehicle, parts and supplies, snow and ice, salt and calcium, they're all up and have been reflected in our recommendation as an increase. I think I told the Board of Selectmen, IT alone, just to maintain our support costs from current year to next year, is up over $50,000. So those costs are indexed as well. School special ed costs are up 14%. We are recommending a one-time use of the SPED reserve as a result of those unanticipated costs of $100,000. I can tell you I had a conversation with the school superintendent. I recommended a reduction of their budget of $100,000 and the use of the SPED reserves before the state aid numbers came in. That's something we can revisit in the fall if we have to, or we may stay the course and charge it to the SPED. And quite honestly, that's why that SPED reserve is there. It's for any unexpected or any unanticipated cost. Just to let you know, the balance in the SPED reserve account is $551,000. We'd be seeking a one-time use of $100,000. Positions that were requested that are not recommended in this budget: 4 firefighters, 1.5 patrol. We funded a half a patrol's position in the budget with a start date of January 1. There was a clerk's position and the clerk in the election office that we didn't consider at this time. And I can tell you that there, in terms of new positions, there are 2 new dispatch positions. The call volume is overbearing. They would like to position those dispatches at high impact times. Those two positions are, and I had a discussion with both public safety, both chiefs. Those positions in year one are going to be funded 100% by ambulance receipts. So there is no tax levy burden on those positions. With the intent of over a 3-year period, weaning that off to tax levy. And basically that is a recap of the budget. And just to boil it down, right now, we're looking at total revenue of $80,414,206.05. Of that, we are making a recommendation of a budget of $79,407,909.31, leaving an unobligated balance of $1,006,000. That's going to tax at a rate of just over 0.5% out of 2.5%. Which is about $310,000. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd be looking for a vote to forward this to the Finance Committee so they can begin their process this Wednesday. We do have a meeting scheduled on Wednesday, the 1st, to begin their process and begin that will lead up to their recommendation that will go to town meeting. So with that, I don't know if you had a chance to review the budget, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Any questions, members?
So in the Department of Inspectional Services, page 2, planning, the town manager is recommending more than the department requested for the town planner. I'm just wondering why you're looking for more than what they were asking for.
So I should have changed their request. I had a discussions. I had a inquiry into that position through the department head about 2 weeks ago. The individual, based upon comps that were done, showed that the town was not adequately paying that position. Albeit we did our own comps. We used our 14 regular communities, and those results showed that the position was well underpaid. After having discussions with the department head, we decided to make a recommendation to pay that individual more money. We also added some duties and responsibilities to the position that would allow us backup for the energy manager's position. So we only had one individual responsible for that. In the past, we had two. And the energy manager that we currently have, happy to say, is expecting. She's going to be out for an extended period of time after she delivers. So we needed some backup. And it quite honestly makes sense to have some layering of that for reasons such as that.
Trying to find the right reserve. So I just didn't know what contracts were coming up that need to be negotiated. I thought everything was settled, and I don't know the whole rotation.
So if you look at the level of appropriation that we did last year, it was somewhere in the vicinity of $450,000. So every year, we do appropriate a sum of money for positions that we may have to consider adjusting due to market conditions. And I'm going to tell you, we're seeing it's very hard to fill these positions because of the competition and the salaries that other communities are paying. We need that flexibility. We have no contracts that are coming up. So all of our contracts were settled as of the year that we're in. They will carry through the next 2 fiscal years. So all of our contracts are settled. We've met all of our obligations. The amount that's in the reserve or for situations that arose, just like the town planner's position, that we may have to consider.
And then I know we authorized the Human Resource Department. I think that funds was that offset from the other departments? Did that money get allocated? Just, so obviously it's 152% increase.
Right.
Did we reduce other departments by an equal amount?
If you look at the Department of Finance, you're gonna see a reduction as a result of moving the assistant's position from the CFO position over to HR. So yes, there is a reduction under finance.
What's that? Yeah. All right, so with no further questions, do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we turn to the budget to finance committee in accordance with the town charter.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It is a vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, and moving on to the minutes of January 23rd, 2023. Do we have any needed edits? Nope, seeing none, we'll accept them as drafted. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it is a vote.